I think we're rolling. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody out there in Northern. Listen up. We've got a very, very exciting performance coming up. I'm Holly George Warren, and my longtime pal, who I used to know and carouse with back in the East Village of New York City back in the 1990s, up to no good, learning the beat ways, is going to be beguiling you, amusing you, entertaining you tonight. It's going to be the likes of which you have never seen or heard before. This guy keeps very busy. He's written at least 5 books, maybe more, including one of my favorites, which recounts his adventures hitchhiking to the legendary 1982 Beat Conference in Boulder at the Naropa Institute, the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics. And he is going to blow your mind. Brian Hassett!
I love it. Thank you, Holly. All right, so here we are back in Lowell. Oh, and by the way, for my prankster friends, this is a little ode to Wavy. All right, so here's the ode to Lowell and LCK, which actually brought Gayleen here for the first time when she did her poem this afternoon, which, wow, what a bunch of great poets and prose artists and theater and musicians for 3 hours today. Wow! And so I wrote this thing inspired by all of This Inspires, and blessedly, Gayleen found this in Quebec, and she was wondering, should I come to this Lowell Celebrates Kerouac thing? And she read this, and she told me yesterday it changed her life. So here's this ode to Lowell. In the spirit of Jack, a spontaneous love ode just flowed to that thing we do in Lowell. And what's cool about LCK is everybody's here for Jack, but all on our own terms. Everybody has a completely different relationship with their family member. You'll hear 100 different stories, all by people beaming in front of you, not on your phone, real life. Radiating energy, coming from, I don't know, Sweden and England and California and Vancouver and New Mexico and Nevada and Colorado and Indiana and Minnesota and Missouri and Ohio and Manitoba and Ontario and Quebec and Virginia and PA and New York and New Jersey and all over New England because of On the Road or Maggie Cassidy or Dr. Sachs. Because of America, or Walt Whitman, or Dr. Thompson. Because of Wanderlust, or Adventure, or a doctoral thesis. There's all the guided first-hand tours you want to ride, and historians and scholars next to you wherever you roam. And playful people off the clock just riffing in the beauty of all the assembled happiness. There's non-stop jamming and goofing and hugging interaction. And there's a million places to go, both on maps and not. You know, Dr. Sachs's woods, the Merrimack banks, the cobblestone streets, and the brick building labyrinths. And all the local Lowell Jacksters come out from all their local hidings for the weekend when they can let their freak flag fly. And everybody's got stories. And you hear Jack lines you've read play back in your head as you walk with a crew of your new best friends, from one scene to another, in places you've only imagined, and some you haven't even. And it goes on for days and days, from the setting sunlit Worthen afternoon of Thursday, leading into the epic bar crawl of Jack's Joints and climaxes at ye old Worthen House, with David Amram riffing Pull My Daisy, until homeboy Bill Walsh's final walking tour on Monday through the secret lairs of Pawtucketville, which weaves back into our old Worthen clubhouse, where the worthy who made it all the way hoist and toast until the jam is done. It's Jack in the now, not in books, not online, in person, in front of you, right now. Live it or lose it. Send me an email. I'll send you all the information. Oh, right. So this whole thing, it's Jack's 100th, right?
Yeah.
And so we started this in March for his birthday. And so it's been this big arc of celebrations here in Lowell for however many months that is. And I was down here for that in March and wrote a piece about it. And so here was sort of the climax of the birthday weekend. Of course, the night appropriately climaxed with rock and roll in a bar full of crazies going crazy at a joint called Warp and Weft, named for the looming process that was the foundation of Lowell's early economy, featuring local hero Willie Loco Alexander, who wrote one of the first songs to name-check Jack back in 1975. Simply called Kerouac. And here he was weaving into the night his avant-garde songwriting magic with just him on keys and a sax player. You don't have to hear a duet with that combo. And the other positive was, it wasn't a full overwhelming rock band blowing off the ears of all these quiet literary types. And the stage was in front of the front sidewalk windows. And it's a double-wide establishment that goes way back, so there's tons of room for everybody from the bus tour, the Dennis Hawley talk, the Anne Scarlett reading, and every other beatnik ne'er-do-well who pilgrimaged to Lowell for St. Jack's centennial. We all arrived at a party in full swing. Brother Cliff Whalen, our unofficial LCK bouncer, was sitting at his post just inside the door, keeping out the local riffraff. Cliff's a former wrestler, and I don't mean the TV kind, I mean the Keezy kind. And he's still got the body to show for it. And with all the little toothpick poets in our coterie, it's a blessing we got one guy who can referee any disputes without them being disputed. And all the hard parts were over. Concentrating on poetic imagery, absorbing erudite biographers' insights, soaking in the local tour guides' rich details, and suddenly it was the all-star encore jam, and everybody was wailing. There's Holly and the two promoter organizers, Chris Porter and Sylvia Kuna, jamming plans for the future. And there's the two pranksters, Dan Bacon and Thomas Krautz, at a table with a pile of Jack bobbleheads between them plotting future magic. And there's documentarian Mike Downey working the room, soaking in stories like any good storyteller does. And there's the new Kerouac art designer, Shay Cotellis, internalizing the chaotic spirit to later manifest in her art. Oh, and there's Jim Dunn holding court at the end of a table with an enwrapped audience he's conversationally conducting. And there's the voice of Lowell, Mike Flynn, beaming away in person after years of us jamming on the radio. And there's Ann Waldman, who shows up even later than we did and manages to have a good time without attracting a scene. And there's Joshua Tarquinio, who looks so young but is furiously recording astute observations in the nicest hardcover rope notebook I've ever seen. Woo. And there's Professor Brett Sigurdsson doing his never-ending research with his never-ending smile and curiosity. It was table hopping through the universe. Holly and I finally ear to ear catching up on everything that's happened since she got officially tapped as the official biographer. There's Jim Sampis getting some quality time with Ann Waldman as he knows to get to know those who may be next to go. And there's Willie Alexander improvising lyrics in the spirit of Jack, all while having the author's favorite instrument accompany him. There's fireworks, calliopes, and clowns. There's the guy who's been buzzed since this afternoon and thinks he's now good enough looking to take off his shirt. And there's the middle-aged former babe who starts shedding her clothes in a last-minute bid for companionship. This was a Jack night, all right. Benevolent hustling. Kind chaos. Intellectual pursuits and inspirational cahoots. Saxophones wailing over barstool sailing. Riffs through the mind to grooves one of a kind. tipping back jams with the local hams, slipping out for a smoke with the packin' folk, and soaking in tales that'll later be wailed. We did it right in good old Lowell. Jack wasn't there in body, but he was in soul. His spirit was in every twinkle and glance, and nobody left the dance without 100 years of his blood dyeing our own with colors for real, not fade away.